All right, let's get started. This public regular meeting of the Board of Education for July 2025 is called to order. All items being considered this evening are posted on PPS's website under the Board and Meetings tab. This meeting is being streamed live on PPS TV Services website and on Channel 28. Woo-hoo. And will be replayed throughout the next two weeks. Please check the district website for replay times. Good evening, welcome. Thank you all for being here for the first board meeting of the 2025-26 school year. I would like to welcome our, sorry, I just cut you off. I would like to welcome our brand new, 3.5 brand new board members. The half refers to new, half new. Director Rochelle Chase Miller, Director Stephanie Engelsman, Director Virginia Lafort, Student Representative Retorto. And before we get started, So excited, I'm sure they're more nervous. All right, just before we begin, share a few housekeeping reminders. We ask everyone here, please remember to treat each other with respect. We're excited that all of you have taken your time out of your day to care about public education, whether you're here to testify or observe. If you have I don't see any signs. Just keep the aisles clear, don't trip. And also just generally be mindful. Thank you. First up on tonight's agenda is the election of board leadership. In May of 2021, the board adopted a process by which board members could be considered for board leadership positions. The resolution states that in order to be considered for a leadership position, board members must notify the board manager in writing by June 1st if they plan to run for board leadership in the July election. At the last meeting in June, both Vice Chair DePass and I indicated that we would like to continue in our roles as Vice Chair and Chair respectively. There were no other submissions. So next, do we have a resolution to consider the election of me, Director Wong, as board chairperson? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Awesome. So we have a motion and second to adopt resolution 7136, election of board chair. Is there any board discussion?
No, I'll just say that I'm happy that you're stepping up again, especially because you've done this the last year and you understand what's involved and the time commitment. And I just appreciate you as a colleague, and I'm looking forward to working with you this year.
Well, thank you. Ms. Bradshaw, is there any public comment? No public
No.
comment. All right, the board will now vote on 7136, election of board chair. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Student Representative Retorto?
Yes.
Thank you. Abstentions? Resolution 7136 is approved by a vote of 7-0 with Student Representative Retorto unofficially voting yes. I just want to say thank you all for entrusting me in this role. I don't take it lightly. My priority this year is to make sure that we, as the chair, facilitate this board to be as effective as possible in achieving our goals, and I really take that seriously. So thank you all for your support. All right, next up we have the resolution to consider the election of Director Michelle DePass as board vice chair. Do I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 7137, election of a board vice chair person?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have Director Split moves and Director Sullivan seconds. Any board discussion? I would also say thank you for stepping up in this role again. I think being the most experienced board member in
You can
this
say
group.
oldest also. Almost the oldest.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to be the most oldest to be the most experienced. Having been on the board for the longest, I think I've been really grateful and also really benefited from a lot of your wisdom, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. Ms. Bradshaw, any public comment?
No.
The board will now vote on resolution 7137, election of a board vice chair. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Yes. All opposed? Student Representative Retorto?
Yes.
Abstentions? Thank you. Resolution 7137 is approved by a vote of 7-0 with Student Representative Retorto unofficially voting yes. Thank you. Yay, we did it. All right, first order done. Next up, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Armstrong, would you like to take it away?
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening. I think we'll be pulling that up on the screen here soon. All right. Well, I too want to start off by saying congratulations to, jumping ahead. Congratulations to our new school board members. I asked for some words from the field that describes each of you and what you may bring to the board. And so some of the things that I've heard was Rochelle Chase Miller. Things that come to mind is inclusive education and community collaboration. So we're excited about that. Also Stephanie Ingelsman, just strategic and strong support to academic excellence. So that's exciting. Virginia LaForte, forward-thinking mindset, grounded in family and community. And of course, our Christy Splitt, who, I understand that you're 6 months in, but starting off officially a school year, what we know to be true about you is lifelong advocate of all things Portland Public Schools. And we know that not only now in this journey, but in the future. And of course, our student representative, Ian Retorto, just that critical dedication to elevating student voice and lifting it in all the ways that we needed. So I just wanted to again say welcome, thank you. We see you all. We are so looking forward to your leadership. And then on a note, I was listening today when it's like the mom takeover, and I was reflecting on the fact that I was hired just, 13 months ago by a male majority board, and it has now flipped to a female majority board. And so as a female superintendent, it is inspiring to see so many women in leadership wanting to lead us into a new era. So thank you. Okay, next, I just want to give a quick little highlight on Summer Acceleration Academy. So as you know, it's off and rolling for this month of July. It's exciting that we're holding the 4 weeks of learning in all air-conditioned schools across the district. And I just really want to lift up the teams who have worked really hard to bring this learning forward for our community, for our students, and just on behalf of student learning. And so just acknowledging that, and for all of those who sent their students or are sending their students to this summer academy, we say thank you. We know that evidence has shown that it pays off in the long run. So thank you, and just acknowledgement to that group. Leap in to sixth grade. So I was excited to be joined by a few of you at the event at Ockley Green just, was that last week or earlier this week? I don't know, all the days. Last week, right? Yes, I feel summer is like one big day for me. But super excited. Thank you all for supporting those of you who were able to attend. This was a partnership with the Blosser Center for Dyslexia, and so we really value our community partners. And you'll hear more of a summer learning report with data attached in the fall, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to lift up some of our Leap Into programs. So that's Leap Into sixth grade. We also had Leap Into ninth grade. So just super excited to again offer 2 weeks of learning to our students who are transitioning to high school, and they have the opportunity to participate in hands-on programming related to CTE, college and career technical education, as well as some financial planning. And they were able to apply their learning to complete their Green City project with teammates in their class. And so I'm super excited about that. The other bit of news that we have is that we are transitioning to Parent Square. You probably have seen that notification for those of you who are parents in the system. It has been a communication that we've pushed out to all, but know that we're transitioning to a system that will allow us to be more inclusive and able to support instant language transition with over 100 different languages. We're super excited about that. Over the next 4 weeks, there'll be an onboarding process for schools and those who are users to understand. So this is a transition from Remind to Parent Square. And so just want you all to know that. And of course, in all transitions, it's always tough to move away from what's familiar. But we do believe that this is a more responsive product that meets our needs. And so we're gonna walk with Parent Square, and we will be there to support in all the ways that is needed. So just super excited to talk about that. Next up, just want to lift up that our high schoolers showed up and showed out in the summer. Grant baseball made history, reaching the OSAA state finals, and so super excited about that. They took home second place, but it was the first time since 1958 that they were involved in a state championship. Also, Lincoln Track and Field dominated, and both the girls and boys won Oregon's 6A state championship. So super excited about that. Kaiten Lofton, a freshman from Lincoln, is now the OSAA's tennis state champion. So super excited about that. We have to listen, legacies are made in Portland, right? And this is further evidence of it. Roosevelt softball brought home the PIL League championship, proving that Lady Rough Riders are a force to be reckoned with. So excited about that. And then lastly, in golf, Cleveland girls went undefeated for the 6th straight season. Wow. How exciting is that? They clinched another PIL league title while Ida B. Wells held on firmly to second place at districts. So super excited about those things. As you know, always we're lifting literacy, and I have a short video to play on all the ways that we're doing that. I think it queues up automatically.
Now that he is big, he has a big job to do.
Geodes are a collection of readable books. They align with our Foundations curriculum, which is our foundational skills phonics program. And they also align to the Wit and Wisdom curriculum, which is our core ELA content knowledge building curriculum. The connection between Foundations, our foundational skills, and Wit and Wisdom is just like a beautiful connection. Students are able to practice and apply what they're learning in phonics to actual text. Students will read the 4 books in the set, and once they finish that set in the classroom, they get to take home the black and white My Geodes copy and keep for their at-home library and to read with their families.
As always, you can follow all the great work that's happening in our schools on our various social channels, which, as I'm navigating to, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and let's see. I was talking slow enough that the slides would keep up with me, but there we are. Follow along. You will continue to hear and see stories of our students excelling and rising, and I just appreciate you all being in this work with me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. Next up, we have the student representative report. Student Representative Furtado, do you have a report or have something you'd like to share?
Yes, I do. So usually, this is focused on like what we're doing in District Student Council, but I'd like to take this time to share a story. Now, as many of you heard during my speech that I gave when I was getting sworn in, Title IX is an issue that's very near and dear to my heart. So this story takes place at Ockley Green when I was in middle school. a large, many of you already know this story. A large group of girls reported made a flurry of reports against a large group of men at their school. They were told, first and foremost, that their confidentiality would be assured. And the people that they accused were called into the office while they were still there. One of the main, it hurts me to see these situations play out across our schools, as I see students in real time have their trust erode in the system. The kids that and I'm sure you all know this, there's a general sentiment in children that reporting does nothing. There's no use getting help because it won't change anything. And I think that's something that we do need to fix. That is a huge component of how students think of PPS as an organization, and how they feel about their school and how they feel about the district. They should feel like they can get justice when something happens. So again, there's a lot of solutions, all of which I intend to focus on a lot in this coming year. But that's about it for today.
I want to just say thank you for bringing that forward, and I take it really seriously when I hear something like that. I also take it with a grain of salt because, over time things can get stretched, but I really appreciate it. If there's anything I can do to help you investigate or gather data around this, I think that's something, if it is indeed true, that we want to definitely address. We need to be able to, people need to be able to safely complain and not fear retaliation.
For clarification, this story is this is from when I was in middle school. So this is an old story. This is not an attack on the people that are currently there.
Yes, no, I understand, but it
system,
also wasn't like 20 years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
It was 4 or 5 years ago or whatever. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you. My main message is thank you for bringing it forward. We have to believe people that make complaints, and we have to assure that their complaints are confidential and taken seriously.
Right. Thank you, Student Representative Tordo. I think the focus is going to be very effective this year, so thank you for that. Next up, we have public comment. Ms. Bradshaw, do we have people sign up for public comment, student and adult?
Yes.
Adult. All right. So let's start with general public comment. First, we'll start off with our student comments. Before we begin, just kind of want to review the guidelines for public comment. First, the board really thanks you for taking the time to attend this meeting and providing your comments. Public input, especially from our students, really helps improve and inform our work. We look forward to hearing from you. Our office may follow up on board-related issues raised during public testimony. We request that complaints about individual employees be directed to the superintendent's office as a personnel matter. I will also remind PPS staff who are giving public comment that they may not provide testimony about students that could violate confidentiality protections under FERPA. This includes any potentially identifiable details such as school community, direct or indirect linkages, grade, special education, or other status. For materials that you'd like the board to receive, please hand them over to Ms. Bradshaw, and she'll distribute them for us. If you have any other additional materials or items you'd like to provide to the board or superintendent, we ask that you email them to public comment, all one word, at pps.net. When you begin your comment, clearly state your name, spell your last name. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. When the yellow light goes off, that means you have 30 seconds to wrap up your comments. All right, let's call up our first student.
Do you want me to call them all at the same time?
Sure.
Okay. Nima, Michael, and Aaron.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, you may start, or whoever wants to start first, and then the green light will go on.
Good evening, Chair and board members. My name is Aaron. I am an 11th grader at Jefferson High School. I'm here with Nima to share something big happening in our community that we think lines up with PPS's goals around equity and great education. On Friday, October 10th, we're hosting the 16th Annual Teaching with Purpose Conference at Benson High School. This year's theme is Advancing Mental Health, Economic, and Technology Literacies through a Community School Model. And we're expecting over 700 educators from around the region. What makes this different is that it's not just adults talking about students. Student voice is at the center. We're leading workshops, guiding community sessions, and helping shape what real community-based education should look like. Superintendent Armstrong is our keynote speaker, and we'd love to see more of you there joining the conversation around transformational education.
Hi everyone, I'm Nima, a 10th grader at Jefferson High School, and I'm thrilled about the Teaching with Purpose Conference. It's exciting how this event connects classrooms learning to the real world, focusing on areas that truly matter to us: mental health, economic knowledge, and technology skills. We'll hear from amazing leaders like Black Sam about Oregon's economy, participate in trauma-informed workshops from the UO Balmer Institute, and engage in discussions led by students on crucial topics like housing justice and community empowerment. This conference reflects the Albina community's vision for restoration, emphasizing that education should uplift not just individuals but entire communities. As board members, your decisions impact thousands of students, and we invite you to join us on October 10th to see education through our eyes. Let's work together to create a vision for what Portland Public Schools can become. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you
Thank you
share
very much.
one more time date, location, and time, just so everyone's clear? And
Yeah, we have October 10th. It's a Friday, and it's going to be at Benson High School.
what time does it start?
It starts at 10.
10. Thank you. I
It's
appreciate
in my
your testimony.
calendar already.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I just want to double down. Thank you, students, for being here. I just want to double down. Super excited to be one of the keynote speakers. We will also have our PAT president, who will be there speaking about community schools. October 10th is an state in-service day, so educators can select into learning opportunities, so it's not a scheduled work day for our staff. And so I do really hope that you all come by. It's, like they said, the 16th annual, so there's been lots of learning and community put on by Teaching with Purpose. And so thank you all for being here, and I do hope that you all are able to attend.
All right, there. Do we have any other public comment? Regular public comment?
We do. We have Samuel Records.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent, and fellow community members. My name is Samuel Records. I am a former PPS graduate, and I'm here tonight to respectfully propose the formation of a PPS board subcommittee focused on dyslexia and literacy equity. We know that dyslexia affects 1 in 5 people, which is the equivalent to 20% of the population, if my math is correct on that. Many go unsupported / misunderstood, especially students of color and English language learners and those in under-resourced schools. This isn't just about reading, it's more about access, opportunity, and long-term outcomes across every subject. That's why I believe it's important to form a subcommittee focused specifically on dyslexia. This subcommittee could work collaboratively with students, families, and community experts to review current practices and gaps, develop goals for universal screening and equitable interventions, and make recommendations for board-level policy and resource alignment. And then the actual overview consists of more conducting a district-wide audit of dyslexia screening, identification, intervention, and teacher training practices, and then assessing equity in access to evidence-based reading instruction and accommodations across schools, reviewing compliance with Oregon's early literacy and dyslexia laws, developing board-level recommendations to ensure PPS becomes a leader in structured literacy, early identification, and inclusive education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you.
Sam's an MLC alum and a friend.
Thanks, Sam. We sometimes comment back. I just want to say thank you. One thing that I recently learned about was, there's a lot of chatter about science of reading and like changing reading instruction from how it's been in recent decades. And it turns out that it's exactly the type of reading instruction that benefits kids with dyslexia. So we're actually doing some really cool things indirectly too. And so I feel like the audit would be such a great idea to really make sure that as we're incorporating these policies that do work better for dyslexic kids, to make sure that we're not just taking it for granted that they're also getting what they need. So I just wanted to say thank you and express interest in further conversation about your idea. Thanks, Sam.
Great. Thank you, especially for bringing this to light again, and really appreciate it. Do we have any of our union partners signed up? No, that's what I thought. All right. Right. Next up, we have the resolution to establish standing board committees for the 2025-26 school year. I want to note that there's a revision in the resolution posted in board book. We changed the name of Facilities Committee to Facilities Improvement and Oversight Committee. I believe this more is a better description of the work ahead in this committee. Before we make a motion for this resolution to put on the table, I just kind of want to reaffirm the role of committees. Committees play an important role. It's where we have deep dives into big topics, discussions, explore. Committees also help us ensure that our work is focused, informed, and aligned with our priorities. At the same time, the committee work does not, and again, this is just a general reminder because first board meeting of the year. Decisions aren't made in committees. What the role of the committee is to produce recommendations for the full board, because only as a full board are we supposed to be making decisions. Later tonight, we'll have the opportunity to review a draft work plan too, with the goal. Again, it's very draft. The draft is there to help start discussion. It is up to us to create the work plan. To get a kind of shared understanding of the areas that we want to prioritize and focus our work and develop a kind of a clear path forward. It is my hope that the work of each committee will help support and work towards that plan. Do I have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 7138, resolution to establish the Portland Public Schools Standing Committees for the 2025-26 school year?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have Director DePass moves and Director Engelsman seconds. Is there any board discussion?
I'll go first. If you guys haven't, the new people, I like to go first. I don't know. It just sort of happens now. It's the only child in me. I do have a brother who's 18 years younger, but I'm still kind of an only child. And a stepbrother too. But I just really wanted to quickly say that I think committees are such a great way for us to have those deep dive conversations, like you said, and really bring things here, knowing that they've been discussed and vetted, and we've had the public comment and the public engagement that we need to have. And I think it can help us to make our board meetings more efficient, to have standing committees that regularly meet and are fully functioning and aligned with our work plan. And I'm really deeply committed. I'm not a chair of a committee, but really deeply committed to supporting the chairs and working together to make sure that those committees really are the places where we are developing policy instead of sitting here and developing policy at 10:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night. So looking forward to this sort of turning the page and starting fresh with new committees and new leadership, and here to help.
Thank you for saying that so much more eloquently than I even hinted at. So I agree 100%. Any other board discussion? Is there any public comment?
No.
All right. The board will now vote on Resolution 7138, resolution to establish support in public school standing committees for the 2025-26 school year. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Yes. All opposed? Student Representative Retorto?
Yes.
Abstentions. Resolution 7138 is approved by a vote of 7-0 with Student Representative Retorto unofficially voting yes. Thank you all, and I'm excited to see what you all do in these committees. All right, next up we have the budget update. Dr. Armstrong, would you like to introduce this?
Absolutely, thank you. And I know some of you have heard me say this, and I want to express this again as we begin to embark on the start of school. This is the first time in about 5 years that we have had a full financial leadership team starting the school year. I will always comment that recruiting Michelle away from Hillsborough School District to lead as Chief Financial Officer was absolutely an exceptional and wonderful thing to happen to us. She's a core hire, a key hire, and so we've just been so thankful that she was able to, in her short time, pull together a financial leadership team that we haven't had in place for quite some time. So I suspect that the continuity and the expectation that you all have around budget will be met year after year. The other thing that I will say is what is important about that is that we know that we have another challenging fiscal year ahead of us, and having strong leadership, consistent leadership that is in place will be absolutely exceptional, important, and significant for us. And so here to provide an update on the budgetary impacts from this year's legislative session and financial reporting is Chief Financial Officer Michelle Morrison.
Thank you, Dr. Armstrong, and thank you all for your time tonight. This will be a fairly brief update after a very rigorous budget development period in the spring. Give everybody a little bit of breathing room to kind of decompress a lot of the conversations that happened. There was a lot of reflection happening on that time, and really great inquiries and questions from the board that could drive us towards making improvements in the information that we bring forward again and again and again, with ultimately a goal of increasing both our transparency and assuring you of accountability and stewardship around our budget. So I think as a collective finance team, that's really our goal. And so I wanted to circle back after the close of session to share with you some of the outcomes of session, how that impacts us in 25-26, but also plant some seeds about some changes that you can expect to see in the upcoming year. All right. Kara? I apologize. I did not arrange this in advance with Kara, so she's on the fly over there, and I appreciate her so much. Our agenda for tonight is the close of session. The budgetary impacts of both the state and the federal programs to date. Some improvements we're going to propose to financial reporting, and then also talk a little bit about some informational sessions that we'd like to kind of spread throughout the year on topics of interest driven by you, directors. I'm not sure where to point it. Oh, okay. I'm used to my team being here for support, so I'm a little bit out of my water. So we'll start with the close of session and the budgetary impacts. I am not sure how to scroll in it. Kara, bless your heart. There's chocolate in it for you later. So we'll go ahead and get started. Funding for schools. So after a great deal of advocacy, I know our board was so heavy into organizing groups and getting to Salem and advocating for funding. And we did settle on that was what was originally proposed and kind of confirmed by the co-chairs as that $11.36 billion for the state school fund. That is a significant increase over the prior biennium, and there was a whole new current service level calculations that went into formulating that number. Unfortunately, several of the other focus areas, including funding for special education, were not funded, primarily due to a late session revenue forecast that was less than favorable. So for us, we did plan our budget on that amount, so we're in alignment there. There's a slight decrease in both the student investment account and high school success grants, again, due to that revenue forecast that just statewide is going to provide less, and so we're making adjustments internally based on that information. There was a last-minute change to outdoor school funding, a reduction of 20%. We had talked about that during the budget adoption and are looking at ways to address that. And then our federal funding is stable overall in terms of Title I and IDEA. Flat funding in those areas does not mean that it's meeting our requirements. So if it just stays flat and our costs are going up, the dollars are going to go, they're just not going to go as far. And so bringing that forward, because you will likely hear from our schools about that. We also have funding for professional development, preschool migrant, and multilingual learners from the federal level is kind of being reconfigured into a smaller lump sum amount. And the state has not received the allocations, and we have not received those distributions yet. So we are aware of the impact, but we still don't have the full picture. So I know that would be a question in the front of everybody's mind. One of the things that we're watching for are the changes to assurances that districts enter into as we make agreements to receive federal program grants. So making sure that we're not agreeing to anything that doesn't align with our PPS priorities. All right, some other legislation that's less directly related to funding. At the last minute, we were working really hard to get some clauses into I want to say Senate Bill 916 about unemployment for striking workers. We were not able to get what we were asking for from our legislators in that, and so that is a new component, a new potential cost for districts across the state, for all employers across the state. It wasn't specific for schools, but we are included in that. And then the governor did move forward with her cell phone restrictions, but fortunately for PPS, we had already made some determinations in our policy around that. And there are some new accountability requirements administered by the Oregon Department of Education. They'll be staffing up to administer that and may have some potential impacts to some districts in their student investment account funding in the future, depending what those requirements are. There were so many mandates that were not passed due to the fiscal impacts or other risks inherent with those legislations. So definitely great thanks to our government relations staff and our advocates.
I have a question.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what you meant by changes to assurances. What does that mean?
I don't have the legal language, but there may be. I would ask my colleague to come and share his perspective with you.
Okay, thank you.
Changes to assurances. That's a good question.
Hi, good evening, directors. The assurances are all the things that a district agrees to do and comply with in order to receive federal funding. One of the changes I was just made aware of by our council not Council Tancre, but Council
Large.
Thank you. Is that one of the changes to insurances is that we need to comply with Homeland Security, for example. So we are waiting to see what they all look like, because they all have different types of implications for how we operate as a district, information we collect on our students and our staff, and how we may have to respond. So that's just an example
Okay.
of one. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. You're welcome to stay.
We don't like to be up here alone, if you notice.
We might
I'll
need
stay.
you
I have
later.
nothing to do with the budget. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Thank you for your questions. We can move on now, I think, to financial reporting. We do have a discussion minute at the end. If there are other things, I'm prepared to take notes, and my team and I can get back to you. Just want to bring back up this slide for folks that maybe weren't really involved with the budget development process. But this talks about the Board of Education, the Community Budget Review Committee, the Tax Supervising and Conservation Commission, and then all of the students, PPS teams, community members, and partners that provide input into our budget development process. And that is occurring all the time. We do have more formal structures to collect information, but we are gathering feedback. We are hearing feedback all the time, actually. And so that informs what we share with you and what we bring forward as recommendations. And then as we cross to the left, we can see the superintendent as the primary employee of the board, and she delegates through her cabinet and leaders into schools and departments to kind of carry out and implement that budget. So this is just a quick slide that kind of shows that relationship. And then the budget process, this is one that you're going to kind of probably see on a regular basis, because we're going to have a different highlighted section depending on where we are in terms of the budget. So as you can see, we're beginning a new fiscal year. In the first quarter, we're going to implement that budget. We're going to get things set up in our systems so that our budget holders can understand what they have available to them and how to spend it. And then we're going to begin monitoring the budget. So especially in October, you're going to see real-time enrollment data, real-time costs of operations for a month. And that'll start to come through, and we'll be able to update our projections for the current year and also the upcoming year and even further out. Thank you, Kara. And so one of the things that I've noticed as CFO, a new coming in, is that there seemed to be lacking a regular monthly financial report to the board, and that created this space where you guys didn't have an opportunity to view information, data, and have your questions answered in real time. And I think that that's important for you to have, because otherwise you're probably having questions in the back of your mind, or maybe people are asking you, how is the district doing in the budget, and all of that. So bringing that more to the forefront for you. I really want to bring in some visuals that we haven't used before. So again, it's not an effort to change or your opinion, but it is a way to be more transparent about our current state and continuing to answer questions as they come up from one board member and sharing them out more broadly. I know that Roseanne Powell is going to be key in that, so that you guys are also seeing what your colleagues are asking and getting those responses. I think that's pretty important. And then just internally supporting our schools and departments, our system can be a little bit challenging to navigate. And so making sure that all of our decision makers have the information they need to make timely decisions as they implement their budget for the year. Lastly, providing a super high level, easy to read summary of our annual financial report. It is an intensive document that accountants use and lenders use, and it doesn't, and it's for corporate America as well. It doesn't always translate well for people, so creating a high level summary that calls out specific things that are important to our operations in that minute, so that you guys can improve your understanding and also your ability to talk about it. Thank you, Kara. Moving on to informational sessions. So really throughout the year, in an effort to raise your awareness, our union partners' awareness, and our community awareness around those major drivers for our budget, so both on the resource side of our equation, what's coming in, what impacts that, and then also the major cost drivers. So, you know, we are a service business, we are people business, and so when our budget doesn't meet our needs, that's a reduction in people in some fashion. So what does that relationship look like? More information about PERS, which is a significant portion of our budget, and what does that mean as a benefit for our employees in the future, and what does that look like in terms of planning for our budget in the near and far term. Capital projects and planning, that should be a dovetail of the financial reporting. It shouldn't be completely on its own, so making sure that you guys feel comfortable in monitoring how we're spending those bond funds is going to be important. And then planning for curriculum adoptions, because they're usually multi-year budget impacts as well. All right, so that's a little bit of my plan for the year in an effort to increase transparency, accountability, and to provide you guys with the information you need to answer questions that may be coming up in the community. Really looking forward to partnering with you as key communicators and helping us respond to some of the questions that might be coming up for people.
Right. Director Engelsman.
Thank you. This comes more as a comment rather than a question. Thank you so much for your presentation today. You touched a little bit on the PERS conversation and how that feeds into the budget issues. And so my comment today is just that we have a new board here, and I feel strong and I feel supported in saying that we all believe in this room that schools need to be properly funded. And so I appreciate that we have been given over $11 billion for public school funding, but if we are still having conversations about cutting teachers and librarians and staff, and if we're still having giant classrooms and we're still having reading results cut from our students in some schools, then our students are not being served by our Oregon government. And so my comment here today is thank you for coming straight to those issues that we all want to talk about and we all want to face. And for anyone listening who has been elected in office, that I am asking you to consider funding all of Oregon schools properly so that we aren't having large schools and classrooms, and we aren't having teachers cut, and we aren't having librarians cut, and students are not choosing between math support or reading support, and they're not choosing between art and science. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a couple.
Oh,
Can I jump in?
Yep, Director LaForte.
So thank you very much for your report. I read through it before the meeting and just wanted to comment about outdoor school. And I know, Measure 99 is in place so that, we have stable funding for outdoor school, and it was cut. And again, this is just a comment that I hope when we're negotiating that partnership as a district that there's some give and take between both PPS and our outdoor school providers, so that we're all kind of shouldering that burden, that it doesn't just fall to students, because I think instantly you start to think like, well, we're going to cut a day. I would just like to make sure that we go in with the idea that maybe we don't have to, and maybe we can all spread that burden so our students aren't the ones taking it. So, and also I really appreciate the switch from quarterly to monthly budget updates. I noticed that, and I think it's going to be really helpful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Could I add something?
Yes.
So I had a question. You mentioned at the state level there is a bill passed around striking workers, and that we were pushing for the things we were pushing for got shot down. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for that question. I know I was a little bit vague in that. So sometimes when the legislature are contemplating things for all employers, they tend to overlook the employers that are publicly funded in that conversation. And so with that, potential is an increase in cost. And without additional resources, additional rules that would create additional costs for us, those are typically things that we are a little bit resistant to. So it's not that, heaven forbid, there's a strike anyway, but if there is, you know, it would create a further burden on our schools and students if there's an increased cost associated with that. So I would say that in our, not even advocacy, but providing fiscal impact statements to what that might look like, that's more our role so that they are making informed decisions.
What's the like baseline summary of the bill? Like at the baseline, like what does it do?
So what that does is it allows workers who are on strike to qualify for unemployment benefits. And in Portland, we are self-insured, which means we cover those costs for folks that access unemployment benefits instead of paying another provider or the state. We are self-insured.
All right, thank you.
Director Bass?
Thank you. I'm really excited about the monthly reporting. Also, I just wanted to thank you for that, and also that you are going to add visuals. You know, we're a learning institution or educational, and some people might love rows and rows and rows of numbers, but I think the visuals will help. So I want to thank you for that. I have a couple of questions. One is, I'm curious, we have the CBRC, and they've done over the past few years, and probably every year they do like incredible work, really thinking through how our budget will impact the entire system. And I'm curious if we could reimagine how the CBRC and the board work together, because I think they've come with some excellent suggestions, ideas, recommendations, and we haven't been able to fully operationalize, adopt them. And so I'd really like to see their work have some weight. That's just a question that you don't have to answer. The other thing is I'm curious about the capital projects on the reporting, and how will the spending on those capital projects that we know will be coming up, how will that information flow between the finance team, the bond accountability team, and the board? Just curious if we know how that information will flow.
So the information that you receive from the Bond Accountability Committee, that will continue to come forward. There will be financial updates per project at that level of detail. I think what you can expect from the finance team is a correlation. You will see that our expenditure reports will align with that. And also if we ask for board action around selling bonds in different tranches in order to fund that work. So a little bit loosely, but they will be correlated. And I know that it's definitely a focus for my team to provide better support to the bond team.
Excellent, thank you.
I have also a quick question. I know this was covered last school year, but I have summer brain, so I forgot, and also we have new board members, so maybe a good refresher. I'm curious about this, going back to outdoor school. The 20% reduction in outdoor school funding. Could you remind? I don't know if you have it off the bat, but do you remember what the dollar amount of that was for PPS?
Yeah, so it was a day. What we did was we broke it down to a day. So that was $665,000 district-wide, sixth graders for a day of outdoor school. I think that's just the tuition cost for attendance. I don't know that any other costs are included, transportation, teacher time, things like that. So I think we do need to do a little bit more comprehensive review of that. And that was a late session change for us, an unwelcome one. And so I know internally our teams are grappling with that as an issue.
Yeah, I guess.
Can I just add to that, just because make sure that it's clear and transparent, that I hope what you heard Michelle say is that with that 20% reduction that came in late, one of the ways in which we can reduce down is by reducing a day to outdoor school, so going from 5 days to 4 days. Now, there's still some things that we're in conversation about. We don't have the funds to be able to cover that gap right now. So I wanted to be clear about where we're landed at, where we've landed right now at this point, if that's clear. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the part of the reason I was asking it is not actually on the district side. It was actually on the board side, because the reason I was asking for a dollar amount was if it's too big, it's too big. But if it's not too big, is this a possibility for something where parent advocacy or parent fundraising could help cover some of the costs. And this is, I guess, a question for the board as well, in terms of like whether we have fundraising groups and stuff. Because my kid just finished outdoor school, and as everyone has heard the lore of outdoor school, and it is a lore because it's amazing. I know some of you have maybe conflict of interest potential here, but some of you have kids that are potentially eventually going to go to outdoor school, and it is worth it. And it's worth the fight. And I'm just curious. The reason I was asking for a dollar amount is like, could this be potentially a fundraising fix? Again, I'm not putting this on PPS. This is on the board and other parents who are out there. Could we raise enough money to help close some of that gap? Because it is a PPS legend in outdoor school, and it's worth the fight. It's worth the protection.
And we don't have Chief of Staff Deborah Kafori with us this evening. I would wonder if that's a question for the Fund for PPS to discuss, and I don't know what that runway would look like. If that's possible. As we know, outdoor school activities will be starting in just a few short months, and so definitely something to look at, and I will relay that to Chief Kafori as well.
Would be my question as well, as where the Fund for PPS comes in. I mean, I'm a huge fan of outdoor school too. My kids loved it. It is part of the Oregon experience. I understand how you came with the 20%. Out of 5 days, you just take one away, and that gives you kind of a rough idea. I just want to clarify, was that $665,000 for the day? $665,000? Okay, thank you.
And that may not even be transportation, you said, right?
Right, and transportation may not be impacted because you take them there and you bring them home. So that may not be. I haven't seen the analysis on all included costs, but I know that that's for tuition.
Yeah, Director Split.
I have just a comment on what we were just talking about, and then a question unrelated. So first of all, many of you, all of us, signed on to a letter to the legislature about outdoor school. Just for the record, I talked about it at a meeting. We did get that letter out and turned in to the legislature about the 20% cut. And we started hearing back from legislators that there wasn't a cut and it was all the same. And it was just kind of an interesting dialogue. And so as we are feeling as you do kind of figure out the impacts of that budget, I would love to be able to communicate back with our Portland delegation, because I do think it's the kind of thing that maybe in the February session, given the volume of emails they all got on outdoor school, they were hit over the head on outdoor school. For them to know that they were kind of being fed a line that there wasn't really a cut when there was in fact one, I think would be really important. So I think we have some room to follow up in February and have it be something we consider asking for. Although I also totally support the idea of doing some fundraising and perhaps the Fund for PPS using that. And it would actually perhaps be a great way to get the Fund for PPS sort of like in front of people on an issue that we all really care about. So all good, but I also just am interested in working with Michelle later as we talk about those impacts and kind of coming up with something with our new government relations person when they are here to follow up with legislators in February. My question is kind of simple, but you mentioned spending and position controls and implementing those, and I'm just curious if you can give an example, because I don't really know what that means. And so I'm curious if you could just give an example of one where you were maybe surprised to see we didn't already have that in place and that we're implementing going forward.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I do think that kind of the transitioning nature of the CFO position over the last couple years has created some gaps in monitoring and supporting in areas of spending. So I think when I'm thinking about communications to budget holders, training, and then additional review of those higher ticket items, whether it's contracts, whether it's large purchases, to make sure that a conversation that happened 6 months ago, that there's still resources there to support it, that there hasn't been a shift somewhere in the district. So just being more dynamic in that. And that's especially true for position control. Again, staffing is the big part of our cost, more so than contracts and all of the consumable and non-consumable supplies. So making sure that we are really being cautious and careful district-wide about prioritizing staffing where the needs are, because there's not the ability to add that we've had the last couple years.
I'd like to respond with a specific example too. Thank you, Michelle. One example would be that previously, when a position was vacated, it would automatically be slated to be refilled. And so now there is a thorough review on if that position is needed. Are there opportunities to fold into a reorganization or consider alternative ways in which we can get the work done without hiring a 1.0, and then ultimately coming together as a budget finance superintendent team to say either, yes, this is a critical need, we're going to fill it, or no. And that has been the case with several positions that were vacated that were at the district level that was no longer filled.
Director Engelsman.
Thank you. I just have one last question, and I will say that I haven't looked into this myself, so the answer may be easy, but given that outdoor school is a funded measure, I guess I'm curious whether anyone has looked into the legality of the very last minute change by the legislature to now take away from the outdoor school in an amount that is different than the lottery funds have decreased. This came on last minute. I have not had an opportunity to spend any time this summer looking into the legality of what they've done, but if this was a voter passed measure that has language in it that is very specific, I think someone, and I would ask that legal look into whether what the legislature did is, if they have the authority to do so.
I agree, Stephanie. The same thought as, did the legislation have a number of days in it? So, yeah.
It wasn't a constitutional amendment, so that means that a law can change it, even if the voters passed it. Yeah.
One thing to note too is that outdoor school is a 3 and 4 day program for other districts. So PPS is special in that it's maintained that 5 day. So I don't know that there's a statewide mandate for a certain number of days. Rather, the curriculum being delivered, I think, is probably more what you would find. But I would encourage us to take a look at that.
Does outdoor school money come from the state? I thought it was MASD. We had big.
So it comes from the state through OSU and then to the ESDs or whoever is providing the outdoor school program.
Okay.
So it is a reimbursable grant that we access. So that it's a little bit of a triangle structure in order to make sure that the OSU service provider is providing things at a certain level and that districts are able to access that.
I'm also making a note to make sure that we get you all by Friday at the latest in the email talking points for outdoor schools in case some of the communities that you represent ask. So we'll work on getting a talking points comms for you.
And Patty, to your point, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that in the past it was funded fully by PPS, and the measure 99 changed that, so that might be what you're, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you both for hanging out and answering our questions. And Dr. Adams
Thank you
for
so much.
answering one question
Thank you,
and
Kara.
supporting for the rest of the time.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you. Right. Next up, we have the first reading of a new lobbying registration policy. We had just anticipating potential questions, just so we know in terms of policies and how they work on the board. Policies have to have a first reading. I think it's a 21-day period, and then a second reading, and the second reading is when we actually vote on the policy. The first reading is our chance to have a discussion. Usually, again, a little exception today because we have 3 new board members. but typically, majority discussion, usually we try to have it in policy committee. So it's vetted there, and any changes or final edits. And then when it comes to our first reading, I think the intent was that there's more for, for a chance for public to have a chance to read it and provide public comment, and also for board to have discussion. But because we have 3 new members, and this work was started by previous former chair of the policy committee, Julie Brim-Edwards. So again, this is the first time the 3 of you have had a chance to kind of, or 4 of you, thank you, sorry. 4 of you had a chance to kind of discuss this, so it is fine to have a little bit of discussion on this today. Vice Chair DePass and Director Sullivan were on the policy committee when this was created and discussed.
I was as well on the policy committee,
that's right.
So I worked with this.
Thank
yes.
you. And Ritardo was there as well. So among you 3, I know that Vice Chair DePass, who is currently appointed as the chair of the current policy committee, is prepared to say something about it, but I also welcome Director DePass and Student Representative Ritardo to add anything that you would like to add.
Excellent. Yes. So I'm happy to explain kind of the trajectory of this policy. In January, the policy committee initiated the drafting and kind of consideration of a proposed lobbying registration policy, which requires that anyone that's potentially going to engage with district staff or the board to seek policy, contract, or expenditure decisions register on a PPS website. That is in line with what other local governments are doing, such as Metro and the City of Portland, that require vendors and lobbyists to register as a measure of accountability. So over several meetings, the policy committee revised the draft language to require an individual or an entity to register on the district's website if it is engaging or planning to engage with staff or board members more than 5 hours per quarter, with an intent to influence a policy or expenditure in which the individual or entity has an economic interest of $100,000 or more. Excluded from that registration are certain contract subjects to the public procurement process, which are governed by ORS 279 A and B, I believe. You can check me on that. So those would be like requests for proposals, invitations to bid. Those already go through a rigorous kind of state level public procurement process, and they're very transparent. This is for other potential vendors or other people seeking to influence the board or staff. So the purpose of the registration is really to create more transparency to the public. That's what I have to say about that policy. And this is the first reading. So the first reading, to Director Wong's point, happens, and then at least 21 days is an open public comment period in which the proposed policy is posted and the public is able to comment on it and provide feedback. So I would welcome any comments from Director Sullivan or Student Representative Ritorto.
What I'll say is one of the things that that Director Brim-Edwards said repeatedly during our policy committee meetings was just how important it is to have, a sort of, I guess, like simple, streamlined policy, that and that systems like this exist in many other school districts and many other public organizations. That this is a crucial component of our our duty to the public, in transparency, and so really, for the people who have not read this, reading this policy and thinking, what, I guess, what is the downside of this policy, for me especially, I see this, as just, as for me, pretty much, pure upside, and the fact that it requires the registration of all of these organizations in a publicly accessible way. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. But
thank you, Director Sullivan.
Yeah, when it was first brought up, I didn't really see it was all that necessary because we have so many checks and balances on our on ordering anything, but I was convinced in talking to the our in-house auditor and the person who does a lot of the ordering that this would be a good check. So, yeah, I support it.
So we're not going to vote on it tonight. We'll vote on it after this 21-day public comment period.
Director Split?
Just quickly, I just wanted to comment to say I am a registered lobbyist in the state of Oregon, and we have to fill out all sorts of documents about spending that we do to try to influence the Oregon legislature. And so, even though I work for the state, I'm still a registered lobbyist. So I just wanted to make sure folks know that it's very normal in the state of Oregon to have to keep tabs on meetings that you have with legislators. My work has to keep tabs on meetings that I have with legislators, and then take that amount of my pay and then reflect that as spending. So there's already systems in place, whether it's with the city or the state, where it's normal to keep track of the money that you're spending to influence public bodies. And it's a little bit, to me, I was kind of surprised that we didn't already have something like this. And I think, so I just wanted to kind of point out that I think it's very normal, and actually this is a very simple and streamlined version and a lot less complex than kind of the timekeeping rigor that I have to do in my role, so that I make sure that every minute that I spend influencing a public official gets tracked and recorded, so that the public can look it up and know what we've been doing and how I've been trying to influence the legislature. So I just kind of wanted to make sure folks know that that's very normal, that's how it works, that transparency is part of, sort of, to me, the Oregon way, although it's relatively new. It all just kind of started in like the 2007, 2009, I think it was the 2007 legislative session. But then I also just wanted to flag too that, we have heard generally some cynicism about sort of big money influences on education, right? And this to me is an answer to some of that cynicism, to shine a light and say, you want to know who's spending money to influence us? Here's who it is. You can look it up and you can see. And in a lot of ways, I think what it will do is diminish any sort of whining and dining, if you will, that could happen, because folks won't want to report it. And so I think it will cut down, to me, on staff having to spend time dealing with people that it's like, maybe it's good for me to get to know this person, maybe they're trying to get our business, and just having those sorts of interactions where you sort of feel like you have to respond or have relationships with them. I think those people might kind of back off a little bit, and I think that might be helpful for time management and making things less awkward for staff too. So I think there's some benefits to that go beyond the transparency, as far as helping to sort of like chill out some of that contact that people might get from potential vendors. So that's all. Let's put out a couple thoughts there.
Very, very briefly, I would just like to second everything you said, Director Split. And the thought that I was trying to get at earlier is that it feels like, to me, at the very worst, this policy is unnecessary. But I feel like there's a lot of situations where this policy could be useful, to us, to our constituents, and, to our staff here at the office.
I have one question, since I wasn't part of this conversation until today. I like the more than 5 hours in a quarter, but was there any conversation about an aggregate over the year, so that there isn't time spread out over the year, so it's 5 hours per quarter, and if you get to 13 hours over the course of a calendar year, then that also triggers something? Was that a conversation as well?
No, we didn't talk about kind of making a tiered or capping the number of hours. I think we settled on the 5 hours per quarter, thinking that would be 2 meetings, maybe 3 over the course. And again, in this industry, there are vendors that will, stop sign vendors, school bus vendors, curriculum. So we regularly do have an opportunity to interact with people that are trying to sell something, but because we're publicly funded, we do need to provide equal opportunity and need to get the competitive rates. And so I think that this shines light on it. And if we're concerned about a cap, we could see how it works, I guess, for a year and make it flexible. I think it might be interesting to sort of gather some data and see how much. I even, when this policy first came out, and it's kind of been socialized over since January, wondering how much time I might spend talking to people, really trying to fend them off a little bit and say, I'm not really the decision maker here, for all kinds of products.
Yeah, to also address that query, I think that's a great question. Policies also can have subsequent, I always pronounce that word wrong, administrative directives. So, like, for example, if the policy does need further guidelines or restrictions or things like that, there's always the administrative directive route to edit as we go. But yeah, policies can change. But yeah, thank you. That is a good question. Any other questions or comments or discussion?
Yeah. What happens if an entity fails to register?
My understanding is there isn't any penalty currently written into the policy, but that could be another idea for additional. And I think in part that was related to, in talking, I had a long talk with Commissioner Brim Edwards, what is she now? Past director, about this policy given my work. So we had a long talk about it. And my understanding is there's not that, and it was in part to reduce the chance of having it have a fiscal impact that would require additional staffing given our budget constraints as a district.
Chair Wong, briefly, could that be like something that would be part of a administrative directive, like penalties?
Yeah, it could potentially. Yeah, absolutely.
So enforcement does have a fiscal impact. So I would just ask everyone to read the staff report that came out about this policy, because it does provide some background, some context, some analysis, fiscal impact, yes or no. So yeah, right now we're not in a position to hire anybody to do this, but yeah, read that staff report, and then I think that's probably a really great suggestion to revisit in a year or 6 months, whatever it takes.
Yeah. All right. From your silence, I think most people are ready to move on. All right. Just a reminder, this proposed policy will be posted on the board website. The public comment period is a minimum of 21 days. Contact information for public comment will be posted with the policy. The board expects to hold a second reading of these revised policies, which is the time that we will be voting to approve or disapprove of this policy on September 9th. All right, next up, we're on summer break, so there's not going to be any board committee or conference support. Oh, you do? Okay, I'll call on you in just a sec. Just a reminder for the chairs of our new committees, we would like to get back in the practice where during regular board meetings, the chairs provide a report and an update on the work done in the committee, and also a general overview of the future work coming up. So in case other board members are interested, would like to partake, they know what's coming up, as well as kind of giving a general rundown so that the full board knows what kind of work is being done. So typically we do this, we have a time during our regular board meetings to give this update. And Director Sullivan will model it for us. Thank you.
Sorry, I've got a scratchy voice, but I think it'll work. So the audit committee met on June 23rd, and I'd like to provide the board with a summary of the meeting. It was a really long meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to receive the Year 6 bond performance audit report from our contracted bond auditors. Annual bond performance audits are a requirement of our bond packages. The report included 6 sections. However, I would like to draw attention to Section 5 and Section 6, which speaks specifically to oversight of the bond program. Section 5 states bond oversight was provided, although disconnects existed and certain information was not getting to the board or Bond Accountability Committee. That's the BAC. The auditors provided 9 recommendations in this section to improve the information available for decision makers and demonstrate stronger bond oversight. These are recommendations 14 through 22. The board will have a role in the implementation of each of these recommendations, which in summary identify areas where the board needs to better clarify their roles, their responsibilities, expectations, and reporting protocols between the board's Bond Accountability Committee, the SFIOC, and which, by the way, SFIOC is the abbreviation for last year's Facility Committee, and the board as a whole. And we've already talked about that some tonight, about the need to do this. The second section of the report is Section 6, which states progress was made on the implementation of recommendations made in the last 5 audit reports, but some remain outstanding. Since 2019, the bond auditors have made 52 recommendations. Although implementation of some recommendations can take longer than others, there were 20 recommendations, approximately 38%, still in progress or not implemented as of December of 2024. When the 23 recommendations from the year 6 are added to the 20 prior audit recommendations, there are now 43 recommendations that will need to be followed up on. Last year, the audit committee only requested one update from staff related to the implementation of bond audit recommendations. As I work with our internal auditor to plan the audit committee's work for the 25-26 school year, I will make sure status of the implementation of the bond audit recommendations are discussed at least twice in the audit committee. I would also like to sit down with the chair of this year's chair of the facilities committee, the board's liaison to the Bond Accountability Committee, you are, and the chair of the Policy Committee to determine if the follow-up on the implementation of some of the recommendations should be done in one of those committees, because a lot of the recommendations don't necessarily have that much to do with building. There's a lot of things that were passed that just haven't worked out correctly. So we need to work on that. And to get started on this work, I asked our internal auditor to go through those recommendations and suggest which committee may be best to follow up on each of the recommendations. So this is going to be a year-long project to try to get some of these recommendations taken care of, because they've been sitting there for way too long. In the April 23rd audit committee, we also had plenty of time for committee members to ask the bond auditors questions about the audit. For board members who were not able to attend this meeting, I would recommend you watch this meeting on the PPS YouTube channel to familiarize yourself with the whole bond audit report that was discussed. I would really like to see the whole board lean in on our responsibility to provide oversight of our bond program this year. And also, for your information, tomorrow night from 5:30 to 8:30, the BAC, that's the Bond Accountability Committee, will meet at Harrison Park Middle School. This meeting will be streamed live and will be taped to watch later, so you don't have to go tomorrow. I know this is late notice to get to the meeting, but I hope you can take a look at it at your convenience. This concludes my committee report. And if you, well, you weren't there, but if you had seen the bond auditor's report, you would see how much is there that really needs to be looked at carefully and taken care of, because we've been letting this slide. So, I would really like to meet with Christy and Michelle. And who is the facilities? Yeah, we could try to figure that out. Okay, great.
I just want to say here. Yeah.
Thank you
Ditto,
so much for
whatever.
even doing the legwork to figure out like which committees should be following up on which items. That's really appreciated. Thank you.
Because there's a lot that policy committee could do. They clear up the bond stuff.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate your report so much. Just knowing that we've let slide now going on 43 recommendations, and as you were reporting, I was thinking, gosh, when I first started on the board 6 years ago, we had an audit which was a joint audit with the Oregon Department of Education and PPS, and our internal auditor, we hired her, and she started working on a tracker. And so I'm sure she can do that again. Perhaps she can color code it by committee, but it was a spreadsheet that had the recommendation, the status of the recommendation, a regular check-in, and then an outcome. So it was easy to just read, like you read a book, left to right, left to right. I was like, do we read left to right? I've left-right dyslexia, so I think this is my left hand sometimes. But it's just reading, and we're able to track over time where we are with these, and we're able to cross them off if we're done. And I think, especially because we just passed a very large bond, that it would show good faith effort in tracking and being accountable to those dollars, because it sounds like a lot of money, but it'll go fast.
Yeah, we're talking about, trying to have a lot of visibility. I think this will really help get this straightened out.
I've been intending to, but I keep forgetting, but I will email the whole board and attach the audit report. It's 74 pages of really good reading. I really highly recommend that you do it. There's a lot of recommendations in there for the board as well, and how we can better our performance, and that's a part I really would like to focus on as well. So I will email, because I know that it may be hard to access in board books if you weren't here when that happened. So I'll email it with attachment. It's worth the read. I highly recommend that you read it. I can't make you, but if I could, I would. So.
And it really is good reading, which is unusual sometimes.
And please thank our internal auditor as well when you see her again, because I know that she's interested in tracking this and keeping us, accountable.
Yeah, she obviously, I'm not an auditor. She has given me a lot of this information. So she's very, very helpful, and she cares a lot about getting this straightened out.
Thank you, Director Sullivan, Chair of the Audit Committee, current Chair as well. Any other board questions or discussion before we move on? All right. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Board members, if there's any items that you would like to pull on the consent agenda for a separate vote, please indicate that now.
Can I just ask if Director LaForte wanted to pull one out? I thought she maybe did. 7148, if I'm correct.
Thank you, Christy. I'm like, you're scrolling faster than me. So yes, I do have a question about Resolution 7148, which is redrawing the boundary between Multnomah County and between the PPS school district and the Beaverton school district. And my question is, what sort of due diligence has been done? I hate to see any property tax revenue, education revenue. That's all the PPS tags on those property tax bills are going to move to Beaverton if we do this. So I'm not sure what the upside potential is, or the upside is for PPS. And I think Patty had a good point. We talked about it about. We don't even know what kind of building is going to be happening in that area in the future. So we're giving up something. And I think that before we vote on this, I would like to know what the numbers are, because I think the way I think of it is, I did some rough numbers. They may or may not be right, but let's say it was $70,000 to $100,000 a year from those 12 houses, which is, I think, is probably close. Like, I look at that as a body. Like, that's a teacher, it's a librarian. Like I said, I just don't know why we would give it up.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot and give you three options here, right? We can either discuss this now before we vote on the consent agenda, or you can move to pull it from the consent agenda for a separate vote, or you also may move this item to a future board meeting.
I would move it to a future board meeting so staff has a chance to maybe do another staff report on the fiscal impact.
All right. So we have a motion to move Resolution 7148 to a future board meeting.
Chair Wong, I just wanted to check with the team to see if we were prepared to answer that now, just for the sake of.
Would you be okay with staff answering some of the questions now?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. And I just want to share a little bit about the funding for school for operations. You were mentioning that the potential loss of tax revenue here could mean a teacher for us. But the way the state school fund works, it's a per student distribution for property taxes and income tax revenue. So we're really funded on a per student basis, not necessarily going to directly receive the property taxes for operations. If we receive more property taxes for operations, we'll receive less state school fund. So in that sense, it's an equitable distribution formula for the whole state. So there's not a direct correlation. I just want to bring that forward to the board.
But for bond, let's take bond funding, for example. That would leave, correct?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Now, because it hasn't been developed fully at this time, those folks coming into that, they didn't vote to support our current bond. So typically, I think a homeowner would vote to support a bond for their community. So the timing's a little bit off there. I'm not sure. They're kind of in a pocket that we would be able to collect bond revenue based on their location and the timing of development. So those are details that we can look at.
I would love it if we could, because I tried to pull the property tax bills, and they're not there yet. But the houses have been sold. Like they're $1 million, $1.5 million houses. And it just, like I said, it made me think that number could be significant.
Yes, we can get that together for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the whole situation came to me because I'm the board member in that zone. And then I brought it to Kimberly, who brought it to other people. And the point was that this is a tiny bit of land that supposedly they're not going to build anymore because of the terrain. So I guess that's the thing I'd like to check. Is that real? Or are they going to build a lot more, which would make a big difference? And then they'd say, oh, well, those kids can't go because these kids are staying in Beaverton. And I think you suggested maybe we could have just a transfer at this point so that we still have the property, but the kids are transferred. But whether Beaverton
and
would
it
like
is my
that,
understanding
I don't know.
that the current student, I think we have one student, and they are on a transfer or are planning to be on a transfer. So in that case, the ADM for that student, it follows the student. So the state school fund for that student would go to Beaverton anyway, so we wouldn't receive that.
All right.
But it's possible that our current bond funds or future bond funds would leave.
Yes, if there's another vote, another authorization for additional bond funds in the future, which I think we're planning 8 years out, that is a potential.
Okay. Because even if they transfer it, the property tax bill still ties it to the address, the physical address.
Happy to do some analysis on that for
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Quickly, would you say that the financial impact on PPS of this change is minimal, or if not, what would you say the general financial impact of this could be, in your opinion?
I think the early analysis that was done by another team showed that it was immaterial in terms of the impact to PPS. It was undeveloped at that time. So again, kind of redoing that work to kind of see currently what that impact would be. But in terms of operational costs, for state school fund purposes and collection of property taxes, it's kind of a wash. So it's more about our ability and impact to trying to serve those students that may be driving by a Beaverton school on the way to a PPS school. So it's logistics and care for the students in their community as well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was actually going to be my question about, I also want to factor in the best interest of the students in terms of their commute time, right? If we're talking about 10 minutes to a Beaverton school or 30 minutes support, that would potentially negatively impact them. So I was wondering, I don't know enough about this to know what the answer to the question is. Is there an impact on their commute time or convenience? I don't know what you want to call it.
I do think there was some early analysis on that, and I'm happy to bring that forward so that you guys can review that and make an informed decision.
Well, it sounds like if you're driving by a Beaverton school to get to PPS, then that PPS school is further. So it does have some impact. And I don't know the neighborhood at all. I don't know if it's on a transportation corridor or if it's one of those areas where you have to have a car. I don't know the details like that. So
Yeah, so when I just wanted to add some additional context. So after receiving this information from Director Sullivan, after hearing from a concerned citizen, I followed up with that citizen, and the conversation was really around the cluster of houses in this one development are super majority Beaverton, in that they're just a small little section that a student, so far one family has a student, but potentially maybe a couple more to the point, would still be a very small number, and like on that block most of those kids go to Beaverton. And so I took it to the enrollment team, and then we processed through, and so this is that step. But I appreciate the question, and we can bring this back, and I wonder if we could have a more detailed map that shows the areas that could potentially be further developed, or if it really is this landlocked kind of situation where it's 4 houses that are potentially impacting that. So we can definitely bring that back.
Also, in the file, there is actually a very helpful visual in there, like, of this neighborhood. And the thing that I was just thinking about, is if I am this student who is going to Portland Public Schools in this thing, and all of the kids in my neighborhood are going to a different school, like, what does that look like for social dynamics as well, when we're talking about the well-being of our students, which maybe only 1 or 2 people, like, that's an important consideration. Like, if I'm that student, and there's like 10 kids in my neighborhood, but I don't know any of them because I'm going to Portland Public Schools, like, that would suck for me.
I agree with you 100%. I think that's why we could, as a district, allow the transfer, but not actually redraw the line to preserve any funding that we can.
So, a couple questions, maybe an alternative path. I don't know if, because this is worth looking into. But from what I understand, this resolution is to start the application for, or I forgot what it's called, petition to the county for redrawing the line, right? Is there a path forward in terms of being able to approve this tonight? But because it is like an application, right, to approve it tonight, but also get a staff report for our next board meeting. And is there a way out of it if we decide that this is not the way we want to go? Does that make sense?
So
like
parallel, you're doing
Yeah.
project management. You're taking that critical path.
And then
to
the
get
other
approval, and then.
My second, this may be moot if my second question is the simple answer, but is there any drawback for delaying this vote for until the next board meeting?
I don't believe so. I think that this has been in process now for a while, and maybe some additional data for you to review would better inform the decision.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely like that.
Great. So do you want to continue the motion to?
What do I do, Eddie?
So you just say, I move to have resolution 7148 postponed to the next board meeting.
I move to have resolution 7148 postponed to the next board meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Awesome.
Quick
We have a
question.
motion and a second to move resolution 7148 to the next board meeting. Any board discussion?
Oh, I just had a quick question. Like, as a student representative, am I allowed to motion or second stuff? Just curious.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what the legally. No.
It will not meet the rules that we need to follow from a governance perspective.
Great. Thanks.
But you can always convince a board member to do it for you.
Yeah, let us know anytime you need something.
Right, there you go. Your elbow partner.
Chair Wong. Chair Wong. I
yeah.
did not hear who seconded that.
It was Director Chase Miller.
Great, thank you.
All right. It seems like we got most of the board discussion done. Let's go ahead and vote on the motion to move resolution 7148 to the future board meeting. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Yes. All opposed? Student Representative Ritorto.
Yes.
Thank you. Abstentions? All right. Resolution 7148 is postponed to the future board meeting by a vote of 7-0 with Student Representative Ritorto voting yes. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Director Sullivan moves.
Second.
Director The Past seconds. Any board discussion on the consent agenda?
Oh, this isn't really discussion. It's just appreciation for the Head Start program, and in particular, the safety issues that they wrote up, and the teacher support and teacher learning. It was so detailed. It was so carefully done to protect our students, and I was so impressed. So thank you, Head Start.
Thank you. I was also curious, the Head Start program, if you need like a shot of like dopamine, go look at the Head Start. They're really great. Their Parent Policy Council is amazing. I love the way they conduct themselves like full adults. I've witnessed this twice now. And I was curious if we have a board liaison this year. Or is that going to be you, Director Sullivan?
I would love it to be me if we have one. Oh, yes, it's me.
Okay. Anyway, hopefully we can join you on a visit.
I also just wanted to give a similar shout out. I loved seeing that. I didn't realize there was like this custodial body that exists. And I thought that was so cool that we have that, and just want to give a shout out to our custodians always whenever I get a chance.
Can I just wanted also, in my work as public defender, I've had so many families and clients who have benefited from Head Start. And so we're saying thank you to everybody, but the trickle down effect of how it helps our communities. And so I am so grateful, both from a personal and professional connection to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and bringing that out, Dr. Sullivan, too. All right, the board will now vote on the consent agenda, which is now resolution 7139 through 7147 and 7149 through 7157.
Nailed it.
That was hard. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Yes. All opposed? Student Representative Retorto?
Yes.
Thank you. Abstentions? I think I voted yes. Yes. Thank you. The consent agenda as amended is approved by a vote of 7-0. Student Representative Retorto voting yes. Now we have a moment to. Where are we? If there's any items that you would like, this is just a quick little brief discussion point, about 5 minutes. If there's any items you would like to request for follow-up or consider on the future agenda item, you may bring this up at this moment. The other alternative, you don't have to necessarily bring it up during the meeting. You can always email Michelle or I, or sorry, Vice Chair DePass or I before consent agenda meeting, or just randomly whenever you feel like it. So there's no pressure to have to say anything now, but you may. We also have a work session following this where we can also bring this up. So I don't even know why this, we don't even have to really talk about this here. All right, if there's no other business, we will now have a work session. We're now moving to our work session. So that, therefore, this meeting, the regular board meeting for today is adjourned. Thank you.